Good morning. So, the question I have to you is, are you emotionally connecting with your customers/clients? And this is something that I was talking about this morning. So, this morning I was at Nexus Networking and it was my turn to do my 10-minute presentation. And one of the things that I was talking about was basically I was talking about business challenges and 3 key business challenges that I'm seeing at this moment in time. And one of those is about finding the right type of client/customer and how in which you can potentially do that. Bear with me 1 second. Sorry, the dog's going to have to join. So I was talking about in terms of finding the right type of customer, and the right type of customer ultimately it links with your marketing message. And I haven't talked about marketing message as much recently because with everything that's going on with the current economic climate, a lot of it is about being recession proof. But being part of that recession proofing is ensuring that your marketing is on point. And as part of that, that is down to the first, one of the key things you need to ensure is that your marketing message is right. And when you're building a marketing message, you are ultimately building a story. And one of the key things that I see so frequently is when people are posting stuff on social media, they're talking about the external problem in which they solve, which is, of course, something that, yes, that forms part of it. But actually, the key part is actually looking at the internal problem that you're resolving. And when I'm talking about the internal problem, I'm talking about how the external problem actually makes your customer or client feel. So I'll give you a prime example, sort of particularly in the trades and construction, which I think is so important, is often when a customer or client contacts somebody within the trades or construction, it's out of a feeling of embarrassment in relation to their home. Whether it is a case of they are embarrassed by the state of their kitchen, they're embarrassed by the state of their bathroom, perhaps they're embarrassed by the state of their flooring, or even just generally the way that the whole room looks. So there you can start to see how a plumber can market, how a flooring company can market, how a kitchen fitter can market, how an interior designer can market. Because ultimately, the internal problem in that situation that you are resolving is it's about taking away that feeling of embarrassment, making that home feel like something of comfort and a sanctuary for them to ultimately to be in. We spend, depending on whether you're working from home now, but a lot of people don't spend as much time at home, and when they do come home they want to relax, they want to kind of feel at ease. And how often would you say that you potentially feel that? And I know from my own sort of experiences where I've lived in places where it's not to perhaps how I would like it, or don't get me wrong, I've been very blessed in terms of the places that I've lived, but I have a particular style in terms of what I ultimately like. And I always had a dream of the type of house that I wanted to live in. And I'm very fortunate in the fact that I basically now live in that type of house. And that's all thanks to the law of attraction. But today's talk isn't particularly about the law of attraction and mindset. So I'm kind of going off slightly in terms of a tangent. But what I'm trying to ultimately get at, I'm a firm believer that your surroundings have an impact in terms of your concentration, in terms of how you feel about yourself, etc. And these are all things that, particularly within the trades and construction world, you can be tapping into when you are building your marketing message. Because if you're tapping into that emotional component, and this is what I'm saying to you, is when you're building your marketing message, it is about that emotional connection. And I use this example on a frequent basis, right? You take Apple as a product. Apple aren't necessarily the best on the market. They might say they are, but they're not necessarily the best on the market. They're certainly not the cheapest. But people buy from Apple because how the product makes them feel like they've got something prestigious, and that they've got something that, is in their mind perhaps the top of the range or whatever. But my point is it is emotional. So whenever you look at Apple's marketing, most of the time they might feature the phone or something, but they're actually not about the product. They don't give you a list of a specification of what is, included in the phone or whatever it is. They're trying to actually show you how the product makes you feel. And it's the same with any product or service, that when you're building your marketing message, you need to make sure that ultimately you are not only solving an external problem, i.e. new flooring, new bathroom, new kitchen, etc., but you're solving the internal problem of how that particular external problem makes them feel. You then also connect into your why. So I have talked about your why quite frequently, and your why is so important. Your why is what gets you up in the morning. It's what drives you. When things are hitting the fan and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to face this. What is it that drives you to keep going? And I go through exercises in terms of how you can actually work out what your why ultimately is. But that why should also interlink with your marketing message. So when you look at my marketing message, what I'm saying is I help businesses become more efficient, more effective, and ultimately more profitable, enabling freedom for the business owner. Now, you've probably heard me a number of times talk about my why. My why is freedom and independence. Now, freedom will mean different things to different people. It could be financial freedom. It could be about spending more time, freedom to spend more time with the family, freedom to work on other projects, etc. But ultimately, my marketing message still links in to my why. And that is also, again, where you link into the emotional connection, because people will resonate with your why. And that's why, it is so, so important to ensure that your marketing message incorporates not only the emotional connection regarding the internal problem that you're resolving, but also connecting in terms of emotionally as to why you do what you do, and how that may well then connect and resonate with your ideal customer or client. Now, another key part in terms of you finding your ideal customer and client is actually looking at who is your target audience. And I was talking about this morning, because ultimately, say, for example, there was a windows and doors company that was in the room this morning. Now, it all depends on what type of house they might want to work with. Now, they might want to work with £1 million plus houses, or they might actually be wanting to work with Joe Bloggs, that's the 3-bedroom semi-detached. And it's actually, your marketing would be very different if you're marketing to £1 million houses in comparison to Joe Bloggs down the street, right? So it's important that you look at your target audience, but you also characterize them. This is where I'm talking about client avatars. And I can remember when I ran the law firm that I really struggled to get my head around the whole concept of a client avatar. And you may well have more than one client avatar, but this is basically where you personify your ideal client. So you'll name them, you'll age them, you'll give them interest, you'll give them a career, right? And that then is the type of person that you are then marketing to. And once you know what that type of person is, you then can adapt your marketing to be able to be at that specific target audience. So hopefully this is making sense to you. And that then it leads into you then finding the right type of client. Now there is more to it than that, because ultimately you also need to be looking at the characteristics of your ideal client. So for example, for me, I would want to be working with clients that are open to business coaching and consultancy. I want to be working with business owners that are open to my advice, that are, within a certain turnover bracket, that, for example, will have the types of challenges that I teach, because there are so many business coaches and consultants out there. And, I'm seeing at the moment so many ads coming up for various challenges, etc., to be able to help coaches and consultants, etc. And I'm sure other business owners are seeing various ads that are specific to business owners. So ultimately, it all interlinks with one another. So if you're looking at your as I said earlier, looking at your internal problem, emotionally connecting with that, emotionally connecting with your why, looking at who you specifically want to work with and the characteristics that they have in terms of not only the personality, but also the type, how their attitude to certain things, etc. By doing that, you then start to actually really build a true picture in terms of who you want to work with. And then when you're doing your marketing activities, they're aimed at that specific person. That way, then you're then going to be more likely to be getting the ideal clients, not just anybody randomly contacting you, because actually you don't necessarily want to be working with anybody that randomly contacts you. Just because they want to have their flooring done, or that they want to have their kitchen fitted or their bathroom fitted, doesn't mean that they're the customer that you actually want to be working with. Because what you may well end up being in a situation is, if they're not your ideal type of customer, that you then start to get the problems of they're constantly trying to renegotiate your terms, or they don't pay you on time, they're not happy with the payment stages, etc. And I see this come up a lot on Facebook groups where people are saying, well, I've got this job, and they're trying to renegotiate X, Y, and Z. Well, if they're your ideal client, they're not going to try and negotiate things like that. They'll be happy with what your terms are, because you're marketing to the right type of customer. So it's all really, really important. So that is the first thing I would say today. I'm talking in terms of the number one business challenge is working with the right type of customer. Tomorrow, I am going to make sure I'm going to be talking about another particular business challenge. So listen out for that one. In the meantime, if you're interested in learning more about working on your marketing message and building your why and looking at your target audience, then this is something I'm going to be talking about at the live event on the 9th of November at the Plaza, which is the new business centre in Braintree. So if you're interested in that, it's a completely free event to attend. Just please put in the comments live event, and I can then send you some more info. There will be more going out on social media in due course. Or, of course, if you're interested in making the most of our promotion that we've got at the moment with the business review, where we look at all aspects of your business and see what's working, what's not, and putting a plan together as to basically how you can get your business into the position you want it to ultimately be, then just put review in the comments, and I will obviously come back to you and we can get that booked in the diary. Remember, it's 50% promotion. And also, if you then take me on board as your consultant to implement that plan going forward, which there is no obligation to do, then you will get that fee back off your first consultancy invoice. So it's a no-brainer, really. So thank you guys for listening. Hope you've got some really useful hints and tips from what I've shared. A bit longer than normal, but hopefully you've got value, and I will see you again, no doubt, tomorrow with my next sort of business challenge and what you can do to help solve that. Take care now. Have a great day.